Okay, so it's time for the ever asked, definitely the by far the most asked question on YouTube for me is, can you please show us your rigs or show us how to make a mackerel rig or a basic mackerel rig? So this is going to be the video. Finally found time. It's Cyclone Debbie is sort of blown through and it's completely shut down the water around this area. Like the water's all chocolate brown. It's been crazy rain. We didn't get hit with any of the crazy high winds or anything like that because we're quite a bit further down, but we definitely get hit with a hell of a lot of rain. And so where we are, it drains off fast, so it's not an issue. But further back, inland a little bit and further down the coast, it's been hit pretty hard. It's a couple of days after now and it's still flowing pretty fast. So yeah, there's plenty of cleanup to go on before we get back fishing, I'd say. This is the rig I started with. It's a perfect basic mackerel rig. It does everything that the fancy rigs will do, and it catches just as many fish. And it's actually a pretty versatile rig as well, because say if you catch a livey or something when you're sort of cruising around, you can actually quickly pop it on this rig, whereas some of the new rigs that I use with gang hooks and things like that, you can't actually do that. If you did that, it'll kill the livey because there's too many hooks in it. Okay, starting with holding hooks. So just like basically this is just like a live baiting hook. I like the shorter shaft. Some people like the longer shaft depending on how they squish their sinkers on. But that's the kind of one I'm using. I think this is like a hoodlum hook. But yep, nothing too exciting there. Anything nice and strong, you can take a good hit. And now I'm not going to cut the sinkers down in front of you. I think everyone can figure out how to do that. So this one was cut with a hacksaw, but I usually just smash them open with a chisel these days, just for time saving. And then I just squish it on nice and tight, nice and level, up towards the eyelet. I guess it's nice to sort of get it nice and snug. And I just squish it in the vise, and I actually quite like this little scale pattern it gives me from the vise as well. So very fishy, but nothing too complicated about that. That's your top holding hook. Now there are other ways to do it. I've made these with a buddy and we just basically melted them in a mold and just laid the hook in there. A little bit more finicky. If you've got the time and you're prepared to do a whole stack of them together, then that's sort of worth it. But these days I just squish the sinkers on, and that means that I can sort of change the weights quite quickly as well. Ooh, pen. And then you can get some store-bought ones which are pretty cool as well. And I do like the idea of these because they hold the weight just a little bit lower on the bait, giving it just a bit more of a steady run when the bait's sort of travelling through. Moving to the trebles, nothing too exciting there. This is I think like a 3 times strong, but you can get 6 times strong. Look, to be honest, when you're catching mackerel and wahoo and things like that, the super strong trebles are probably not necessary. They don't have super crazy strong draws like snapper or anything like that. But I think 3 times strong is a good a good level. You don't want to go any lighter than that. You don't want to just pull hooks. Swivels. I think I mainly go with 59 pound, but occasionally I'll use 64s as well, depending on what I'm going with and upping the size of everything. And then skirts. So everyone will have a different opinion on these, but I've always liked these little glowy kind of skirts, but a lot of people like other things. There's by far the most popular is the pink skirt. I like the little ones like this. A lot of people like the big ones, cover a bit more of the bait. I like to get my bait swimming, and I find that the bigger skirts sort of tend to sort of make the bait like they sort of slip down the sides of the bait, and it loses its waggle and sort of starts to go just like a rocket straight through the water, or more like a torpedo rather than the swimming fish. I want my pillies sort of be doing that, and once all of these streamers got to get stuck down on there, I think sometimes they stop it from doing that motion. They just make it sort of go straight through. So if I do use those bigger skirts, it'll be on a much bigger bait, and if not, you can always cut them down or just go with the little skirts. Yeah, by far the most popular skirt out there is pink, I would say. Pink does deliver the goods, especially with Spanish and spotties. And what I've sort of been using a lot of recently, and I really like them, is these kind of dusters. I really like the little fleck and the extra sort of added colours there. This is a green one, but you can get a purple one. I've actually got one over here. There's quite a different one, but that purple, I like that iridescence purple. That's definitely a sort of
I think helps me catch definitely the spotties. It seems to really get them stirred up. And I like this, just a little bit of pink, a little bit of green, and just something to get a look. You can even see the purple against there. That's really nice. So I've been using these more often than not. Pretty much haven't used the pink skirts or the glows for a while because I've just been using these. Right, so with wires, yeah, like I favour sort of just 44. I think that's a good all-rounder. But, you know, sometimes I go up to 58. Very rarely do I go much higher than that. And there's 38 for lighter jobs. I don't go any lighter than that because, you know, sometimes you do run into that sort of special fish, and I don't want to be caught out much lighter than that. But yeah, 44 is my sort of go-to, so that's what we'll be using today. So pull yourself out a bit of wire, maybe, let's call that 30 centimeters. Cut it off, and then maybe just another smaller bit, and that's actually quite a lot. Probably won't use all that. A skirt. So what are we going to put on? I think I'll go with the good old pink skirt here. Get it nice and centered. Straight down the center of the skirt. Get it moving through. And we're looking good. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we got that nice and threaded through on about 30 centimeters. So we'll just put the swivel on first. Doesn't really matter what order you do this. Okay, so we're going to be doing a haywire twist. I like to just sort of start it off with a nice kink. Some people, you can buy little tools to do this, but I sort of just happy to do it with my fingers. So just do a little half twist while you're grabbing the top and bottom there. Don't get greedy. I find if I try and get greedy with my twists, I don't get that nice. See how the wires are wrapping around each other instead of one wire wrapping around another? That's what you want. You want that sort of nice even twist all the way down. So don't get greedy. Do 2 more, I'd say. I usually put about maybe 2 of these in. Just not getting greedy, so I get a nice firm grip in between my fingers. And let's do 1 more. Try and keep these even and pressed apart. So you see I've got 3 proper twists now. Usually run with that, then I'll straighten this one up. And I'll start doing my barrels around. So these ones are just going to wrap directly or straight around. Try and hold it with a pliers so you can see. That's fine. So there we go. So now we're starting to do the barrels. We'll just go round. And it's kind of hard to do while you're looking through the camera, actually. So this might not be as good as I would ideally want them, but let's see. No, they're alright. So I'll maybe put 3 twists and maybe 4 barrels. So that's looking pretty good to me. Oh, there you go, the swivels in the wind. But yeah, see, I like to keep it as small as possible. So proper twist up the top, barrels down the bottom, and then we trim off that tag. Now I didn't leave myself much of a tag, so I won't be able to break it off nice and smooth, so I'll use the pliers. Now ideally you want to get rid of this burr as much as possible. So a little bit left, so it's better if you do snap it off. But we'll just cut it off for now. That'll be fine. So I like my haywire twist to be nice and small. Some people run with them, you know, with maybe 5 or 6 twists and then barrels. But I find that, you know, any fish that's sort of strong enough to break that off, we're strong enough to break a bigger line or bite it off anyway. So I like to sort of keep them nice and neat and small. So there's plenty of videos on YouTube of haywire twists and people using all kinds of different things to do them. I just do them like this. Do another one here. Same deal. This will be easier to do though because you've got more of a handle with the hook. So same deal. Maybe 3. See, because I got the handle, I can actually do it a little bit better. That's a nicely formed twist there. And put the barrels on. Okay, so that gets us that top part there. So we've got our holding hook, swivel up this end, that skirt's just floating up there, and we'd push that down over the bait. Now, this next part, sorry about this hook being a bit rusty, but we'll work with what we've got. I would actually probably still maybe use that, but ideally you want a nice fresh hook. This cut of the hook, where the eyelet joins up and curls around and joins up, that's not the side I want this on. you want to sort of minimize the potential problems of a hook or the wire pulling through back through the hook in any place. So we want this second hook on the away side for where the eyelet joins back in, if that makes sense. So another haywire twist. Now here's an important part. This is an important distance to get right here. So this goes up through the bottom chin of a pilchard. Now you want this to run loosely at the back and sort of hook back into the back of your pilchard, but you don't want it too far back, because too far back and it stops the pilchard from waggling. Too far forward and you're going to get less hookups. So you want it just in the center part of the back. That the pilchard would probably come to about here. That would be about the center of the back. So that's where I want to go to. Somewhere about there. Now you just have to get used to sort of seeing what size baits you have and then matching it up with that. So now that that's all put together, I'll show some maybe troll cam footage of these things sort of swimming along, and then we'll talk about things you can do to sort of perfect it and get it sort of swimming just that little bit better, how I'd go about baiting it up. I've just got a pilchard thawing at the moment, so we might have to come back in the afternoon. Okay, we're back. We've got our thawed pilly. So let's see if we can get him on there. So when I've got him lined up there, you can see sort of once that's sort of up under his chin, you'll see that that will sort of line up somewhere around that, just that mid-back section, which is kind of where we want it. So first thing is we go up under the nose. Now I always like to try and go through this top section here right up the front, but not too far front, just somewhere around here. I don't want to go back here somewhere, because once it's that far back, I want it to sort of just hang like a ribbon and flap like a ribbon in the water. I don't want this to be sort of held tight and give it any kind of leverage or any reason to spin. Try and go through and up, try and go straight through the center. Sometimes pillies have a funny thing in their nose that actually stops you going from the center, but that's pretty good. Just piercing through and up, just wiggle it through. Try not to sort of break it. You just want it nice and firm through there. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now, if I just hold that and let it hang, that's sort of where I want the hook to go in. I don't want any kind of tension. I don't want to have it twisted so it's sort of pulling to any side. I don't want it to have any tension whatsoever. So if it hangs like that, then that's where I want to pin it. Just go into the center, straight into the back, and that's how you do it. So that should run, you want it nice and loose. So basically what you want it to do is, and the way I like my baits, the way I sort of theorize it I guess, is I want this to be like the holding hook and the top sinker to be holding sort of steady and just have a little bit of weight down to hold it from spinning. And then I want the pilly as loose as possible, because I want the pilly just to flap like a ribbon in the water. I don't want it to be stiff. I don't want it to be going like a torpedo like that. I just want it to be sort of flapping like a ribbon, and then all the weight is just coming through on here and just flapping, and it's super loose. So you want it as loose as possible. So you want to just swim like that. Look how a pilly swims. It doesn't swim like, you know how those hardwares and they do that. You don't want that. I want it to be swimming like this, like a ribbon through the water. So once you've got your bait all rigged up and you're out on the water and it's looking good, always sort of place it in the water. Don't just throw it over the edge and start paddling off and expect it to sort of work. Always sort of place it in the water, let it sink a little bit, let some slack out, run it through the water a couple of times. You'll always see, every time I put a bait out, I'll always run it through the water a couple of times and just see if it starts to get that waggle. And if it's not right, I repin it. I don't bother fishing if it's not right, okay? So near enough sort of isn't good enough when it's a tough bite and it's hard enough just to find fish, and then you go over them. You know, if you've got a spinning bait or even just a bait that's sort of just going like a torpedo through the water, you know, you're sort of really minimizing your chances to get that hook up. So just keep running through the water, make sure it's good,
just take that extra little bit of time. You know, you'll see everyone, like in the morning I start panicking, you see everyone sort of take off and they're all fishing already, but you know, just that little bit of extra time, you know, might save you all that, you know, all that heartache. So yep, give it a go. Perfect beginner's rig, and for the advanced guys, lots to learn on it, and you know, you can keep learning on it and catch so many fish. So good luck, and hope you got something out of it.